Welcome to the Richard Syrett Show. Well, Canada just announced it will recognize Palestinian statehood at the United Nations this fall. With trade talks teetering on the edge and U.S. tariffs looming, Prime Minister Mark Carney's decision to reward Hamas with a sovereign state has left one burning question. Is Canada still an ally of the United States, or have we become a useful idiot for globalist power brokers? Today, we're going to cut through the media fog with Donald Wilkie, author of Freedom Revealed, A Simple, Elegant System. Donald is a leading voice on how governments manipulate crises to erode freedom, drawing on 20 years of studying Benjamin Franklin's playbook for liberty. He joins us now to expose the real agenda behind Prime Minister Carney's reckless foreign policy gamble and what it means for Canada's future as a free nation. Donald Wilkie, welcome back to the Richard Syrett Show. How are you?
Terrific. How are you? Pleasure to be here.
Great. Let's start with the obvious. Has Canada, under Prime Minister Mark Carney, just chosen Hamas over free trade with the United States?
It appears that way, doesn't it? I wouldn't have said that in the last administration, but with Trump, I would definitely say that.
Carney claims this is about a principled stand for peace, quote unquote, but isn't recognizing Palestinian statehood right now the geopolitical equivalent of rewarding terrorism?
It sure sounds that way, doesn't it? And I'm actually confused as to why Carney would do something like this. I mean, he needs to get a trade deal done first, then maybe make political reckless decisions like this. But get the trade deal done first. I mean, this has gone on too long, and Canada needs the United States. It's not reciprocal.
Trump warned this would make a trade deal with Canada very hard. Do you think Carney maybe underestimated how quickly Trump would retaliate economically?
I believe so. I believe a lot of the leaders around the world have done that. We're in a very dicey situation now with Putin and Russia. Did he do the same thing? Well, time will tell. Trump reduced the amount of days from 50 down to 10, so we're close to seeing what the final or I hope not the final resolution, but what a resolution on that is going to be, too.
Canada's foreign policy is often described as multilateralist. To me, that just sounds like code for outsourcing our sovereignty to globalist institutions. What are your thoughts?
I think that's a perfect definition. I couldn't have said it any better myself. Yeah, it sounds very much like that. And we down here in the South, I'm from Detroit. So I am the only place that's actually south of Canada. And my grandmother was Canadian, and I've been to Canada hundreds and hundreds of times. And, we don't understand what's going on in Canada.
France and the UK have flirted with recognizing Palestine, but they don't share, a nearly 5,000 kilometer border with the U.S. Do you think Carney has just risked Canada's economic lifeline to, virtue signal on the world stage?
Well, a lot of people have tested Trump, and as far as I can tell, Trump has stood firm, hasn't wavered, and it's the saying we have in the United States, FAFO, which you're probably familiar with.
Oh, yes.
I just haven't seen him back down from anything yet. So I'm not sure what Carney's thinking.
Well, the liberal media up here keeps framing this as a moral imperative. And what are your thoughts? I mean, isn't the real moral imperative standing with our allies against Islamist terrorist groups like Hamas?
Absolutely. I mean, what happened on October 7th is going down in history as one of the worst massacres ever. And to reward that group of people for those aggressive actions is really a foolhardy thing to do.
Well, Carney's demanding democratic reforms from the Palestinian Authority, but I don't know, to me that seems like asking the mafia to draft a code of ethics. What are your thoughts on how likely the Palestinian Authority is to change their stripes?
Well, I'm a bit of a historian, as you know, and I like history, so I look back at history. And in the Palestinian case, they have said things over and over and over again that have proved not true. Their propaganda in this war in the Gaza Strip has been a continuation of what they've always done in the past, phony pictures, phony issues, phony problems. And, you know, I would gain a lot more respect for the Palestinians, Hamas, if right now they said, okay, the hostage crisis is over, we're done. Here, all your hostages are back, all the bodies we have come back. That, to me, would be a starting point for Carney to recognize them.
By my count, this would be the sixth time, beginning, I guess, in the 1930s, the sixth time that Palestinians have been offered a state. Each time, the previous five, they've refused. Why would this be any different?
Exactly. Well, that's your historical question, isn't it? Why would it be any different? And I, at this point in time, would say it wouldn't be. I mean, history has a way of repeating itself, and they've lied continually. And so I have not much hope that they are not lying right now.
Do you think Carney's deliberately sabotaging Canada's relationship with the United States in order to pivot towards globalist institutions like the UN and maybe the WEF and the EU, China?
Well, you know, Trump has been on this on the tariff kick here now for several months, almost since the time he was inaugurated. And he's basically shaken up the entire world economy. And everyone's talking about the economy, and everybody's talking about tariffs, and everybody's talking, instead of world government, they're talking about national sovereignty. The United Nations, as far as I can tell, is on its way out. I mean, that is a relic. That's a dinosaur. It's not going to last. It's so corrupt. It's ridiculous. But you know, I can't read Carney's mind. I don't know, but I should say maybe I can read his mind a little bit, because it's the past. It's what we've done for the last 20, 30 years. The big government was going to take over everything. The climate change was going to ensure big government. Big government was going to protect us and keep us safe. But Trump has upset that apple cart, and it's all different now.
One thing that seems very different, and maybe you can disabuse me of this, but looking back historically, but the way that Trump is wielding trade or access to the American market and so forth as a geopolitical tool seems to me quite new. I mean, he's not sending, the sort of the Harvard-trained diplomats to negotiate peace deals, for example. He's using, trade experts to do this. I mean, historically, is this a new approach, using trade as a geopolitical tool?
Yes, I think you nailed it exactly. And I think this is something most people don't see. In my book, Freedom Revealed, I divide the two great systems of human beings into the marketplace and government. And for all of our history, we were government-centric people. The government's going to solve the problem. The government's going to do the negotiation. The solution is found in government action. And that is changing. And Trump is in the vanguard. He's leading the parade. Other people are involved with it too. Milei down in Argentina, Farage in Great Britain, Wilders in the Netherlands. But we're going to a marketplace-centric world now. And we're letting the marketplace solve the issues. Now, just real briefly, think of what Trump has done. India, Pakistan, ready to go to war. Says, I'm not going to trade with either of you. They settle their difference. Thailand, Cambodia, same thing. Congo, Rwanda, terrible war with machetes. Says, hey, I'm not going to trade with you guys. They settle the war. We're going to a marketplace, a market-centric future. Now, the backup on the marketplace, market-centric future, prior to today, it was impossible to do. we didn't have the tools. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have instant communications. We didn't have Starlink. We didn't have, the communication, the planes, this, that, the translation of language ability. And today, that's all here. I mean, you can deal with somebody in Japan just like you're dealing with the guy across the street. And government, I believe, is going to take back, or I shouldn't say take back, to go back to their role of what they really are supposed to do, which is law and order. Government isn't made to be a marketplace. And for the last several years, Canada has suffered from this really badly. They've looked to the government to be their marketplace. And I'm going to upset a lot of people, but your healthcare system has to be in the marketplace. The government cannot run it. And that's just obvious. Let me talk about one simple point. This will give me some foundation. I looked at nature, okay? And the environmental movement mantra is there is no waste in nature. Well, if there is no waste in nature, what is it that drives it out? The answer is competition. Competition drives waste out. Okay, now when you look at the two great systems that human beings have developed, the marketplace and government, what do you find? You find a marketplace is a competitive system. It operates identically to nature. What do you find about government? Well, government is singular. There cannot be competition, so there cannot be any mechanism to drive out waste. And this answers the age-old question of why government always screws things up. There's no competition.
That's right. That's right. And that's why I think liberals and the left, their policies continually fail because they fail to understand human nature. This imposition of state control, for example, we still have an EV mandate hanging over our head up here by 2035. If the liberals manage to hold on to power, no more gas-powered or diesel-fueled automobiles will be sold in this country. Just getting back to...
Can I just comment on that real quick?
Please do.
You're exactly right. And your statement that we have ignored human nature is exactly right. And, what government is doing is distorting the marketplace. In order for prosperity to happen, you cannot distort the marketplace. And I know I'm talking in terms not common to most people, but when you look at, for example, the Soviet Union or China or Cuba, what did their government do? Distort the marketplace. What happened? They got poverty. Your government is distorting the marketplace. People don't want to buy EVs, at least in the United States they don't. Why does the government force them? It has no business doing that. If you want prosperity, let the marketplace work. Let competition eliminate waste. That's the whole key.
Right. It does defy common sense, but I maintain, Mark Carney is heralded as this economic genius. Oh, people look at his resume. Oh, he was the head of the Bank of England and the Bank of Canada. I see him less as an economic genius, more of just an eco-zealot, really, an environmental zealot.
Yeah, he sounds like a atypical bureaucrat. Now, most of what we said, I've had a long experience in business, and we used to call them kiss asses. To get up on the ladder, you had to kiss the guy's ass ahead of you. So that's how I would describe Mark Carney. I know I'm not making any points with anybody, but...
Oh, you are with my listeners, believe me. We're on side. So President Trump really has, I believe, painted Mark Carney into a corner because tomorrow is the trade deadline, August the 1st. If Mark Carney backs down now and says, okay, we won't recognize Palestine, he's going to look weak and ineffectual. He's got a narrow hold on government up here, a minority government situation. If he doesn't roll over on this one, and he campaigned on elbows up, and he was the one to secure a good trade deal with the United States. He's going to fail on that regard. Not that we want to give Mark Carney any pointers, but if you were advising him, what would you do? Look weak and submit, or elbows up and try and, fight, I don't know, dollar for dollar on a trade agreement, which would only end in disaster?
Well, that's a good point. A good point again. You said advisors. Carney has to have several advisors. And, the old saying we have is when your enemy is digging a hole, let them keep digging. Or if you want to get out of the hole, stop digging.
Mm-hmm.
And, the best advice is stop, reconsider. You talk about Carney, he has to have several advisors. You know what with Trump? He's got several advisors. But you know who makes the final decision all the time? Trump makes the final decision. I'm not sure that's the case with Carney. But he's digging a hole. Stop digging. That's good advice.
So right now, as of today, Mark Carney has ceased to be a reliable ally of the United States. What are the consequences beyond trade between or for Canada and our neighbor to the south?
Well, that's a really good question, and one that probably doesn't have an answer at this point in time. But I think what Canada has done is they want to stay government-centric. They want big government as opposed to marketplace-centric, where they let the marketplace work. Now, what people don't realize, and which I'm hoping in my book when it gets out, people will realize, because everything in the book is self-evident, the marketplace, a competitive system, is the only way you can create prosperity. A non-competitive system cannot create prosperity. We've tried it over and over and over again. Soviet Union, China, Cuba, Venezuela. A government-centric country cannot create prosperity. And you know what human beings want? They want to live in a prosperous society. And you know why they want to live in a prosperous society? And most people don't think about this, but it's, again, very simple. How many chances do you get at life? You just get one. Where do you want to live? In Cuba, where you can't eat? Or in a prosperous society where everything is available and you can do things on your own and think for yourself? No, you want to be in a prosperous society. You only get one life.
Well, this is going to be very interesting. The clock is ticking. The heat is on. Prime Minister Mark Carney, will he cave? Or will he stand on principle, so-called, and basically have to deal with a whole new round of punitive tariffs? Donald, how do we get a copy of Freedom Revealed, a simple, elegant system?
Well, the easiest place, of course, is Amazon. Everything moves to ease. That's one of my foundations of nature. BookBaby is my publisher. You can get it from BookBaby. I'm on Substack. That's freedomrevealed.net, not org. I couldn't get org, so I got .net. Freedomrevealed.net on Substack. And my website, freedomrevealed.net.
Fantastic. Donald, great speaking with you again. Thank you.
Very nice to be here again. Thank you.